Today we're going to draw this character together, step by step, and I will show you everything from start to finish. And to pique your curiosity, I created this artwork with just the tools we're going to explore in today's video. Afterwards, you will know everything that has the potential to create stunning artworks yourself. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm super sorry for being absent for quite some time now, but I had to fix things and now I have time for YouTube again. Today's video is going to be a mixture of a drawing tutorial again, but also an introduction to Clip Studio Paint. As for the drawing tutorial itself, you can follow along with any drawing software, but I will use Clip Studio Paint today because this video is kindly sponsored by Celsius themselves. And I might be a little bit proud because when I started out as a digital artist, I used Clip Studio Paint, and back then I would have never thought that one day they might sponsor one of my art videos. Yeah, they have a 3 months free trial and I will link it down in the description for you. Give it a try, it's still one of my favorite softwares out there. Actually, I only use Procreate and Clip Studio at the moment. Okay, some of you might have already followed one of my other drawing tutorials. You guys should have no problem following along and you will learn the one or other new thing. Okay, this is the default layout of Clip Studio Paint, and don't get overwhelmed by all these toolbars. We will get to know them slowly and step by step. But first of all, we have to create a new canvas. Therefore, click here on File and on New. These icons let you choose between different kind of projects, but today we just select illustration. Set the width and the height to approximately 3000 pixels, and for the resolution we go for 300 dpi. As this is necessary standard if we want to print it one day. You can also name your file and I will call mine YouTube tutorial. And whenever you're ready, then click OK. All tools you will see can be selected by clicking on them in the toolbar windows, but this can become quite inconvenient and that's why almost every tool has its own shortcut. Simply a certain key combination on your computer's keyboard, which can also be assigned to the buttons on your drawing tablet, if you have them. I will always display somewhere the shortcut for the respective tool I use, as well as where to click to find it. Alright, to get something on this blank canvas, we will need a brush or a pen, and as we're going to sketch first, we will choose a pencil, which we can find here in the toolbar. See, now you can simply draw something on the canvas. And here in the so-called subtool properties, you can change the size of the brush, either by choosing the actual brush tip size, or you can increase this slider over here. To change the color, we have the color wheel down here, and you can choose the hue in the outer circle, and you can set the saturation by sliding right or left, and the value can be set by going up or down. Of course, you can always undo your last stroke over here and redo it here, or better just use the shortcuts. Another method to remove your brush strokes is to simply use an eraser, of course. And you can even choose between different shapes here, but I prefer the rough one. If you need, you can zoom in and out with this little plus and minus on the right hand side here, and this little symbol fits your canvas back to the screen. You can rotate the canvas with these arrows, or you just hold R on your keyboard and drag with your pencil. And this symbol resets any rotation back to normal. Often you will want to drag the canvas around, and therefore we have the hand tool here. One last important control before we start our sketch is this one. It's called the selection tool, and it lets you choose a certain area which you can then make any adjustments to. And you have the choice between different geometric forms or a free hand selection, also called lasso tool. You can use it like a brush to create your selection, and if you want you can add more area to your selection by choosing this little plus symbol. And if you want to erase an area from your selection, then use this little minus. And whenever you're ready, then just click the symbol and you can start dragging around whatever is in the selected area. And you can even shrink or rotate it. And of course, you could do a lot more with your selection, like copy and paste or something else. Generally, if you're curious what any symbol in a software means, then just hover over them and wait till a little description pops up. But we don't necessarily need any of them today, so let's ignore them for now. When you're done with whatever operation, then you can close the selection here. If you want to move the whole sketch around, then you don't have to select it first with the selection tool. Instead, you can go here, it's called Move Layer, and it lets you move around the whole content of your current layer. And when we're talking about layers already, then for the beginners, digital artworks usually consist of a stack of transparent planes that artists can work and draw independently on. But I'm sure you will understand their value later. Just quickly, they are organized in this corner, and to create new ones, click here and you can delete them over here. Great, now that we know our main controls, we can start with our drawing tutorial. First of all, we need a sketch, and in a second I will show you how to come up with a sketch freely and with the help of guidelines that I came up with myself, but they are very helpful, and I really recommend giving this a try even if you're a very bloody beginner, because failure is success in progress, and you will learn a lot just by trying. And don't worry, if it turns out completely terrible, I prepared a sketch you can download in the description, and I will show you how to import this sketch later after this, okay? Okay, if you have a mess like me, you might want to delete that first. In the left top corner, go to Edit and Delete, and it will clean your canvas. Great, now we can name our first layer, therefore just double-click the name here, call it Guidelines. I highly recommend to name all your layers in Clip Studio Paint because it will give you a better overview and you will notice what I mean later. Then select the pencil and a red color. Now try to draw a rough circle, and if your tablet supports this feature, you will notice that the harder you press, the more opaque the line gets, and so don't press too hard here. Some tablets even notice when you tilt the brush, so be aware of that as well. Okay, back to our rough circle. It doesn't have to be perfect, just approximately in the middle of the canvas. Then we add a cross like this in the center. And if you notice that your lines are a little bit crooked, then check this setting. It's called stabilization. It's over here in the subtool settings of the pencil. By increasing it, it should help a lot with those shaky lines. Okay, next we go for a green color and add 2 tangential lines parallel to the cross and to the borders of the circle. And another one at the bottom. Great. Next color will be blue. Add another set of 2 lines that part the areas between the green ones and the cross in the middle. One more blue line on the right hand side of the circle in the same distance as the other blue line to the green one. The same in the lower area of the circle. Don't get overwhelmed, it's basically just a symmetrical grid. In the next step, we will now mark important guiding points for the facial features. And the first one is here. It's later going to be the corner of the eye. The next one is a C-shaped curve. It's where these lines cross, and it's gonna be the nose bridge later. Another one is here in the middle of this square, the reference point for the nose tip. And the next one is on the lowest blue line, approximately halfway between these 2, and it refers to the end of the chin. Last one sits here, it's on the circle, and it's where the jaw will end. Now let's draw the first outline for the face, and we start with a straight connection line between the point for the tip of the nose and the chin. And you can also draw an oval approximately here for the ear. And don't worry, it's not too important where exactly. And here the forehead. Then the jawline, which is a bit curved. And the connection to the ear is quite straight. And finally, the head and the neck. With the neck, it's again not too extremely important where exactly it sits, but something like this. Okay, then we take advantage of the benefits of layers and lower the opacity of our guideline one here. Something about 20% should do. Then we need a new layer, and therefore we click this symbol here, and we call it Sketch. I prefer a dark red for the next steps. This is the part where we add the face details. And don't worry, you don't have to work clean yet. First of all, the eye. It has a triangular shape like this. And yeah, nice that we marked where the corner should end. The forehead and the nose bridge look quite the same as before. For the nose, we just need a curve like this. And easy peasy, a tiny C here, like C the letter. It connects the upper lip and the nose. For the upper lip, we just draw a bow like this. And then we add a friendly smile with a dimple. Okay, halfway done. What we do now for the lower lip is just to draw a short straight line. It's almost perpendicular to the grid lines, and we finalize the lower lip with another straight line. Try to stick to the blue guidelines below. Then we add another curved line here for the chin. And last but not least, the jaw. It's slightly curved and the ear connection is again pretty straight. Now, if you had issues to follow, then just erase and try again. I will show you now again an exaggerated version of it, and maybe this helps. See, it's basically just all oppositely curved bows and then 2 straight lines for the lower lips. I really hope this helps. Okay, now we add some lashes. And again, it's a curve. A little emphasizing and yeah, an oval iris. And please, don't you ever disappoint me and draw the pupil right at this front position, okay? No, no, no. It needs to be drawn here in the middle. And I made a photo of my eye for you as a proof. I hope you can see it there. Just a little bit more depth here for the lower part of the eye, and you can even indicate lashes here, just a bit. And then we go with an eyelid. And I like to draw it simplified like this. It's that kind of anime Disney mixed style that we go for. Of course, we need an eyebrow. And yeah, like everything else, it just consists of some bows. Yeah, we will keep the ear simple and just make it an oval containing another oval and this thingy here. Don't ask me what it's called, but it's there. We can also indicate the nostril here. Okay, then let me outline the head and the neck. And by the way, the neck is not connected completely straight to the jar, but rather like this. Here an indicator of her top. You can also go for something round, but I draw something triangular here. Now to the hair. Usually the hairline looks something like this. And now, of course, you could just go to Pinterest and search for a profile view of a woman or whatever to find a good reference photo for a hairstyle, or you just follow along with the hair that I draw. And mine will be half tied back. And here you see a little bit of the other side, maybe a strand. And there will be a ponytail later, but first the other half of the hair that is loosely falling down. Now the ponytail. And to make the final result more interesting, I'm going to add some details like earrings now. Therefore, I like to choose another color because it makes things less confusing. First I just draw a simple earring here, and yeah, and then I want the hair to look like it's tied with a headband, if that makes sense. So we go here with this. And one little line that just shows where hair top ends. I go for a turtleneck. Okay, done. If yours looks like, well, not so good, then no problem. Still, great work, you made it until this point, and we will talk about a workaround in a moment. But in case yours looks just a slightly bit off, then you can try to use the so-called mesh transform, which you can find over here, and it lets you pull on your drawing like this. And you can even change the density of the transformation grid over here. But let me warn you guys, here it's just a rough sketch, but if you ever use it on a finished illustration, then don't overdo it with this tool. It really messes with the quality and it can make the illustration look blurry. Anyways, it's very powerful and can save sometimes the one or other illustration for you. You guys, after making the video, I just found out that the new version of Clip Studio Paint also added a real liquify tool. You can either select if you want to enlarge or shrink stuff, or just pull on your canvas like this. And I think it's a little bit more comfy than just a mesh transform, and it can be a lifesaver, in my opinion. If your sketch still looks like garbage, then congrats, you made a lot of progress today. Don't worry, my first ones did too. Either you now draw everything again, or you can make your life easy this time and download my sketch from the description of this video. Therefore, just delete the current one, or if you want to keep it for later, then just uncheck the eye symbol over here, then click on File, Import Image, and search for the freshly downloaded Fjordwind sketch. Yeah, and then there you go. Here's your sketch. So, no matter how you got to that sketch, we will carry on now with a clean line art. Therefore turn off the guidelines and then lower the opacity of your sketch layer, and 20% will do again. Then create a new layer and call it line art. Basically, that's going to be a clean sketch that contains all your details. And you could do that with a pen like this, but I prefer the pencil again. It's a little bit more easy to use. And definitely choose a very dark red color and then just draw along your sketch, but this time in like a tidy way. And maybe that means a lot of do and undo or erase, but that's okay. You can take your time. And no worries, if it's still a bit messy, that's the artistic style that we follow in today's video. Okay, now you might understand why I like to separate the sketch in different colors, especially because not every line of the sketch is a real, visible line in the final drawing. Okay, good. Then you can turn off the sketch layer. And if you notice any flaws now, then just clean them with the eraser. Or maybe you want to emphasize the one or other line that you've made a little bit too thin. Okay, next step, time for colors. For every base color, we are going to create an extra layer. The first one will be the skin. And important, all color layers need to lay underneath the line art layer. And you can do that by just dragging them down like this. We now need another brush, which can be found under pen and then subsection marker. And the Milli pen is perfect. As this is a cartoony character, we're going to choose a saturated color, and of course you can go for whatever skin tone you want, but I will go for such an orangey one. And then just paint the outline of the skin area like I do. The only important thing here is that you have no gaps and that you really enclose an area with your paint. And once you're done, then search for the fill tool over here, and like the name suggests, by tapping in the skin area, it's going to fill the area for you. But there is this tiny problem. If you zoom in, you encounter these white borders, and they are not pretty. To get rid of them, you can just increase the tolerance of the fill tool with this slider over here. But to be absolutely sure that there are no white borders left, I always fill again by just clicking a second time on the already filled area. And we will now do the absolute same thing for the headband. Like again, new layer, then outline, color fill, and the same thing also for the hair. Don't forget to add a new layer. A layer organization is half the job. And the sweater, of course. And don't wonder about the liner that looks now a little bit too light. Just trust the process, we will fix that later. And I almost forgot about the eyebrows here. Just select the hair layer again and paint them there. Whenever you need a color again that you already used before on your canvas, like I need the hair color again here for the eyebrows, then you can color pick it with the eyedropper tool by holding Option or Alt key and tapping on the canvas. See, now I can paint the eyebrows in the same color as the hair. Now we need a new layer, and this time for the eyes. For the white of the eyes, we color pick with the eyedropper tool the skin color, and approximately in the same height here on a color wheels square here, we slide to the left for a white color, and then we just paint the eye in. Today I will go for a light brown color for the iris. Then make this color, which you've chosen for the iris, a little bit lighter by dragging it upward in a color square, and then just draw a little blobby thingy here, because it will give the eyes lots more depth. Okay, now that we have all base color blocks, we're going to add shadows and details to them. First, select the skin layer, then add a new layer, because that will cause the new layer to directly pop up over the skin layer. And clicking this symbol allows us to clip that layer to the skin layer. You'll notice that it is clipped when you see that red stripe indicator here. Now that it is clipped, everything you will draw on this new layer will only appear on top of the skin and nowhere outside of it. This layer is now called a clipping mask and our lip layer now. I will draw them in the same color as the hairbrow, because keeping colors consistent is part of a great composition for an illustration. Now we create another layer on top of that, and we will also make it a clipping mask. It is now also clipped to the skin, and it's going to be our red cheeks. And for the cheeks we color pick the skin again, and then we drag the hue slightly more to the red and increase the saturation by sliding right on the color square. And as we want the cheeks to look soft, we need to select a soft airbrush. Yeah, and then simply add some color to her cheeks. And if you feel like you've gone too far, then you can still lower the opacity of the layer. And it can also look quite nice and cute to add a little red to the nose and to the ears, as well as to the forehead. Just a tiny tad. Okay, now we're ready for shadows. Yes, you guessed it, new layer. And it is also clipped to the skin again. But it will get another trait this time, because I will set the layers mode to multiply, because with this multiply mode we can even select a light color and draw with it, but it will automatically evenly darken everything in the layers underneath. This is quite a great feature for shadows. So let's choose a pale reddish color and add some shadow here under her chin and in the ear and here by the nose. Maybe a little bit here under the hair. I know we have quite a lot of layers by now, but I think that's a great habit for beginner artists. Especially when you're later doing client work, you will be very happy to have the opportunity to change everything later. When I work for clients, I work in numerous layers, and if I don't, I badly regret that. Almost forgot to show you the smudge tool. It's over here and lets you blend like the paint on your canvas. I use it just rarely because it tends to encourage over-rendering, but it can be useful for soft transitions. For example, you could just use the blender and soften your shadows with it like this, but honestly, I think it's too much for this character today. Okay, and now that we know the multiply layer, we are now ready to fix our line art, because we will set it to multiply as well. See, the multiply mode darkens the line art, matching to the colors beneath. Okay, great, next step. Clip a new layer on top of the hair and call it hair gradient. We color pick the hair color and make the tone a touch lighter. Then select the soft airbrush again and then gently lighten the lower part of the hair. I don't know, it gives something to the hair I personally like. I mean, you don't have to add it. If you don't want, then just delete it. Okay, for some more depth in the hair, we create a multiply layer, we call it hair shadows, and clip that on the hair again. Again, we choose a very pale color in the hue of the hair, and I keep the shadows very simple today. If you have another hairstyle and don't know where to put the shadows, then you can completely skip to add shadows to the hair. It will still look good with only the gradient. Okay, then next let's do something with the headband. I want to add like a golden or yellow border to it, but again we have the problem with the drawing outside of the object thingy. But this time we don't fix that with a clipping mask, but rather a new technique called alpha lock, or here in Clip Studio Paint it's called lock transparent pixels. See here on this symbol you see that you have locked this layer. That way we can draw directly in the headband layer, but only where we already have painted before. Alright, well then just add some of these borders, and of course you can draw whatever comes to your mind. We need some shadows here as well, and the same procedure as before, multiply layer and a light color for shadows. You know what, we forgot to paint the earrings. Let me just fix that quickly with a layer somewhere above the other colors, and I'll use the same color like the one from the headband. Okay, now that we have added all the shadows, we can start adding some highlights as well. And in this context it means adding, yes, new layer on top of the last hair layer, and then clip it, rename it, and this time set the layer mode to add. And we will go for a pale reddish color again. And in case you have blonde hair, I recommend something more in a blue direction. Then choose the turnip pen and then gently and by varying the pressure on your pen, try to add some highlights to the hair like this. Think of it as a slight curve that you trace with your pen while you vary the pressure along the way. Maybe it will take 1 or 2 attempts before you get the hang of this, but it is worth it. And when you're done, lower the opacity to something between 10 or 20%. Then we will just add another highlight for the earring, just a light yellowish blob here, and it will look more realistic. Then to the lips, we will just alpha lock them. If you want, you can color the upper lip a little bit darker than the lower. Most of the time you have light coming from above, causing the lower lip to look a little bit more light than the upper, and that's something I often do. And then just maybe a little reddish highlight blob here. It makes her lips look a little bit more glossy. I really feel like reddish is the most used word in this tutorial. Okay, now what? For the very last details, we create a new layer and put it even over the Lineart one, okay? Select the white of the eye and put a little dot here by the pupil. That will give that bright, shiny look to her eyes. Another thing I tend to do in the end is to go back to the Lineart layer and slightly emphasize the lash line with a darker color. And maybe also this dimple here. You don't have to do that, but I like it. What else? Sometimes I go back to the last detail layer where we also added the eye highlight and just add some loose hair strands. And you could of course add some everywhere to the hair, but I feel like that might be a little bit too much for this character, so I leave it by this only one. Okay, you're almost done. Let me just show you how to change the background color now. You might have wondered already what this paper layer down here is all about, and yeah, just select it and then up here you can change its color. Go for whatever you please. Okay, you know what, not that we already have added a lot of details, but I feel like she still lacks something on her cheeks, so just let me add some freckles here. Okay, now I'm happy, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can add that too if you want. And because there's so much going on this eye shine layer now, I will rename it to details. I would say it's quite done now, and of course you can save your drawing over here. Go to File, then Save As, and of course you should save it in the file format Clip Studio Paint to keep all the layer information and all this stuff, but if you want illustration additionally as a picture only, then you have to go to File and Export Single Layer. Choose either JPEG or PNG. For these two windows popping up now, just always click OK and you will be fine. If you want, you could now leave the video, of course after subscribing and liking. Then you will miss out on some cool stuff we're going to do now. Okay, therefore we have to merge all layers together, and that's why we'll now save a duplicate as an original to keep our layers for later. I mean, who knows what you want to do with them in future. I'll call it original. Okay, we just need the color block layers to be merged together, so check all these little boxes beside of their names, except the Lineart, the details and the background one. And when you're ready, then click on Layer up here and on Merge Selected Layers. See, now all our color stuff is going on in this one layer here. And if you want, you can now make some tonal adjustments to it. Go to Edit and then Tonal Corrections. For example, you can change the contrast or the brightness, or over here the saturation. All I like to do here is just to play around and see what looks good or not. Yeah, now we can even clip a layer on top of all our colors, what's very comfortable. And for the layer mode we choose Add, and have a look, not Add only, but Add and in brackets Glow, because we're adding some light now. And therefore we pick a yellowish orangey color, and with the turnip pen we add some lines to the borders of the character. And we assume the light source comes from the right hand side, so all the light will also be on the right hand side of the character. Maybe even the hair and the sweater might reflect some of it. Definitely play around with the opacity and keep whatever you think looks best. I know I only used the multiply and add layer in this drawing, but it can actually be really fun to play around with different layer modes for your lighting effects or even your shadows. Often I'm surprised myself at how great some unexpected mode looks. Just wanted to encourage experimenting. And whenever you're ready, create a new layer on top of all other layers, and I will call it Background Merge, because in this last step we're going to blend the character a little bit with the background. Therefore just pick the background color and the soft airbrush. Just gently blend this color on the character. Of course you can change the amount of that effect with the opacity again, and it should really only be a very subtle. Alright, you know what, we are done now and I think it looks great. Don't forget to save it again, File and Save As, or save with this single layer thing for saving it as a JPEG only, and yeah. This is the way to become a good artist. Just perseverance. I can't just keep it going and learn something new every now and then. And please, I'd love to see your illustrations. Just post them on Instagram and tag me over there. I'm Fjordwind. Surprise! I need some feedback to see that you really make progress. Okay, well then, that's all. See you soon.